You may ask one by one.
The fundamental question my son asked me, I could reply. He said, awareness or consciousness is common to every human being. I am in the wakeful state. I have work to do. I have to compete with the society, earn my food, clothing and shelter. Why should I be bothered about consciousness or awareness that you talk about? It is given to everyone. Even the cat has consciousness, the rat has consciousness. It dismissed me. And Vedantin say, learning about Vedanta will not give you money, will not give you power, will not give you advantage in the society. It won't give you food, clothing and shelter. You have to beg. It is only for who have got vairagya and viveka, high IQ and a very stable EQ. In my case, I have a very low IQ and a very unstable high voltage EQ. So I am not eligible for Vedanta at all. And why should I learn? What is the use? Forgive me, it's a long question. I am a little being unfair to the scriptures, but it's a question, nevertheless.
So now limit your question. What is your question now? You elaborate many things.
Sorry.
What is your question?
The question is, why should I bother about consciousness or awareness? I have got many things to do, my work and living. Why should I bother about consciousness?
So my answer is also, don't bother about your consciousness. My answer is also the same. Don't bother about your consciousness. Why you unnecessarily bother about your consciousness? Don't bother about your consciousness. Bother about your work. Don't bother about yourself. Don't bother about your consciousness. That is what I am also telling like that. Don't bother about your consciousness. But even though we come to a conclusion, we need not bother about our consciousness. We bother about when we are having some sorrow and fear or anger. We bother about our consciousness. So we want to have some control over consciousness. But we need not control any consciousness. It is unnecessary work. So if you give freedom to your consciousness, it will look after itself. We need not look after anyone. A single consciousness need not look after the other consciousness. Each and everybody look its wants. Each and every consciousness appears and disappears. We need not correct any consciousness. So it comes and goes. So we need not bother about our consciousness. So when we bother about our consciousness means we want to have control over consciousness. We need not control any consciousness. We give total freedom to the consciousness. Then only everything will be all right. Your domain, your area, your jurisdiction is only to the external world. The external world, you have to work, you have to plan, you have to think. Everything is open for yourself for your action. But psychologically, with related to your consciousness, you have no work. You have to understand there is no work in the area of consciousness. That you have to understand.
That was the main question. The subsidiary question is, I have many desires in my heart, opposite desires also. So performance becomes an issue. I cannot totally give energy to one single goal. Instead, I spread and I can't achieve anything. I get paralyzed. Maybe it is a problem with the buddhi, decisive ability in me. How to correct that?
So here, the desire is some inducement process. Without desire, you cannot act. So you must have some desire. With the help of the desire alone, we have to act. But the desire must be related to the external world. So if you want to go some place, you may have some desire to go there. Then only you can travel. But at the same time, if you desire, I must be happy always, I should not have any tension within myself, I should not have any fear within myself. If you desire like this is meaningless, because it is not under our control. It is not related to ourselves. We cannot control anything. So psychologically, we have to be free without any desire. That means we should not have any responsibility. But in the external world, the desire creates a responsibility. But if you create a responsibility in the psychological world, that is meaningless. So we have to understand our responsibility in the psychological world is meaningless. But at the same time, the desire and responsibility with related to the external things will be meaningful. We have to follow the desire, we have to follow some effort. Everything is good. We can follow.
Yesterday, you told the same thing in the sense that psychologically, Paramarthika Satya, Paramarthika field, you don't have any work, any responsibility or anything. Whereas Vyavaharika Satya, you have responsibility, you have duty. Is it not cheating ourselves that there is a Paramarthika inside and a Vyavaharika outside, and how to do justice to Vyavaharika if your Paramarthika and Vyavaharika is not integrated?
So actually, psychological world is a reactionary world. Actually, when you are some mirror is there, whoever passes in front of the mirror, their image will be there in the mirror. It is a false one. Just like that, we are having many images, many responses in the psychological world. It is not the real world. We have to dismiss the unreal world. So, but the external world is the real world. We have to give importance to the real world. For that, we have some relationship. Whoever have for example, when we are standing in front of the mirror, our image will be there in the mirror. We can make use of the image. For your shaving, for your combing your hair, you can look at the image of yourself. Otherwise, it is not useless. It is not meaningful. So, to the extent it is useful to the external world, we can make use of that. For in itself is meaningless. So in this way, all images in itself is meaningless. All the emotions, all our feelings, everything is in the psychological world, in itself is meaningless. So if it is related to the external world, it has some meaning. If it is related to the external world. So we can make use of our emotion, make use of our experience of the psychological world, we can relate them to the external world and make use of that. But all images, all the expression in the psychological world, they are in themselves, they are meaningless. We need not worry about that. We have to take everything is Brahman. When everything is Brahman, what is the responsibility you have to hold? If somebody is yourself and somebody is Brahman, and you have take some responsibility to reach the Brahman. But everything is Brahman, where is the place for responsibility? So psychologically speaking, you have to take everything is the Paramarthya Satyam and everything is Brahm, everything is Atma. That means don't take any responsibility to achieve anything. So that is the meaning behind that. But in the external world, that is Vyavahari Satyam. We should not take everything is Brahman. We should not take everything is Atman. So we have to take everything is separate. I am separate, other person is separate, the world is separate. Then only we have to take some responsibility to make some action, to make some correction.
Here again, a dichotomy. I am everything, I am everybody. That is what the Paramarthika says. But being Vyavaharika, I want a little money to fulfill my basic needs, for which I have to find a means. I can't escape this.
So you cannot dismiss the world. The physical world is the real world. Psychological world alone is the illusory world. Our psychological world is a reactionary world. It is not a actionary world. It is a reactionary world. It is a illusory world. You have to dismiss the psychological world, but you cannot dismiss the actual world. The Paramarthya world, you may think the Paramarthya world alone is the real world. That is not the case. Psychological world, so in some way or other we have to dismiss the world. So they are giving you some interesting word like this, everything is God. So psychologically speaking, if you take everything as God, then only we will feel you are free from responsibility. So when everything is God, what responsibility you have to solve? So you have to be free from all responsibility in the psychological world. But physically, we must take some responsibility. So we should not take everything as God. For example, when you place your car in front of your house and you go to your sleep, in the next morning the car was not there. Somebody has stolen away the car. You don't take the action of the God, everything is Brahman. So you have to take some responsibility. You are the owner of the car is different from you, somebody has stolen away the car, you have to take some responsibility to rescue the car. So, but the psychological world is concerned, we should not take any responsibility. For example, when we have some fear or anger or sorrow, we take some responsibility free from that. We want some responsibility to take some good feeling, some emotion. If you take responsibility like that, that creates problem. So, psychologically world is concerned, we should not have any responsibility. For that, we may assume everything is God, everything is one. There is no duality. So psychological world, we can have the philosophy that everything is one, everything is Brahman, everything is Atman. But if it is in the Vyavaharya Satyam, in the material world, everything is divided. We have to accept the division.
So we have to accept the division.
Yeah.
Our food, clothing and shelter.
Yeah.
There is no compromise.
No compromise.
God doesn't fill our stomach.
You may pray God as a separate God to help the situation. You should not take everything is God. If you take everything is God, then there is no responsibility for yourself. If you take everything is God, the car is God, I am God, the person who has stolen away the car also God, then you don't have any responsibility to get back the car.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Forgive me, I'm taking more time.
God.
So this is the question on yesterday's discussion. Guruji told about that emotions coming in your mind is very quite natural and normal. For example, they are driving a car on the road, a car will stop the car. And getting emotion is a natural. We may get a fear emotion, we may get any other type of emotion based on our perspective and experience. And naturally here, when a car stops the car, we get a fear kind of emotion. But it is not really required. And because that will impact on our body. My question is it possible to stop that kind of emotion? Or if yes, how to train our mind?
So we may practice something. For example, we may practice some meditation or anything. Thereby we can have creating some calmness, some steadiness of your mind within yourself. Then you may not have you will not be easily agitated by the situation. You may calm down yourself, but it will not, but sometimes it may be helpful, sometimes it may not be helpful. But you may try, but it is not a share, it will helpful always. But at the same time, if you are able to dismiss the psychological emotion as it arises, the necessary emotion will come. For example, if you instead of if you want to have a steady mind, even though you are caught by the police or anybody, and you will have the steady mind, you can manage the situation. But whenever you meet the situation, naturally you may have a tension within yourself. So what you have to do is that don't give importance to the tension. But they give importance to the situation. Don't give them. Psychological situation is different from the physical situation. Physical situation is different. Psychological situation different. So if you give, but at the same time, the psychological emotion comes from the physical situation. Even though it comes from the physical situation, the psychological situation is a momentary one. But whatever comes, if you don't give importance to the psychological situation, the psychological emotion goes away very easily from yourself. If the tension goes away very easily from yourself, some necessary emotion will come to deal with the situation. So that is the correct way. That is the way we are advising yourself. Before you asking question, you may give a brief account of your yesterday question and answer. You may have some question before and you got some answer yesterday also. You may give you some brief account of your question and answer, and you got some, what kind of remedy you got. You may give some brief account, and afterwards you can ask the new question.
Size of 1 minute, I will just fill up just a minute. Yesterday Mr. Sai has met Aya at his place here and discussed. I also don't know what has happened. Okay, let us listen.
Yeah, thank you. I don't wish to come in between, but since he is permitting me to speak a little, I will. My name is Sanjeev Sahi. I have been in Bangalore for almost about 20 years.
Sound like Akram.
Yeah. So I have been in Bangalore for almost about 20 years now. I worked with a company called HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and in 2010 I moved to another company called GMR. In my journey, I have been having lots of ups and downs, and I thought that I have had a glimpse of some kind of calmness which had come. I used to read Mr. J. Krishnamurti a lot. So when I was, like I said, there have been lots of ups and downs in my life. Materialistically, I was going up very fast, everything was going. But inwardly, there was that discontentment, if I can tell you, the dissatisfaction. So about, I think, 4 months back, I was just browsing something on J. Krishnamurti, and I gave one search in the Google. Is there anybody who has understood J. Krishnamurti and really, who can explain it in very, very simple terms? And there somebody has written that go to this site of Sri Bhagavatam. I never heard of it. So I went there and I read something which didn't really appeal me. Then there was a PDF which was Don't Delay Enlightenment. Don't delay enlightenment. And believe me, I got touched. I almost cried. I felt it was so simple. So I was, so much fascinated that here is a person who seems to have really got it, because the language, the simplicity, if those of you who have read his books, I have read only 2 of his books, is so simple, so direct. So I was very eager to meet him. So I contacted some people. Once you have that burning urge inside of you, you will leave no stone unturned. That's what happened with me. At this age of 61 years, I felt that there is a living human being who seems to have touched something. And I was blessed that yesterday I could spend some time with him. I was personally with him. And there I then narrated to him all that journey. I don't want to burden you with that. Simply put, that I was in deep crisis, personal deep crisis. Like I said, externally, everything is working out wonderfully. You have money, you have bank accounts, your children are doing well, but inwardly there is a poverty. So I went to him and I just I also narrated like I have narrated to you, maybe a little more I have told him. And I said that I am going through personal kind of challenges. J. Krishnamurti and all have been very clear. I have understood that. But still that key, that it is not unknown. It comes and goes, it comes and goes. And that's where now, in fact, I got delayed today. I should have been here by 10. But whatever I heard has deepened it. The point I wanted to mention was, one, when I put that query to him yesterday, that why is it that having touched it, it goes away? Supposing you have had the glimpse of something which was that flow which he talks about. Supposing, okay, just grant it to me. But why does it not stay? It goes away. So he said, so simply, he says, because you are wanting it. You want to hold on to it. And then that means I am creating myself, and which has become more clear today, sir, that I consciousness is coming into being because of my desire. Somebody put that question, desire, I think you said. The desire to hold on to that wonderful experience. So that means I have been trying to bring everything into the realm of experience. And that is possibly the fallacy. Yesterday night I wanted to share with you, I couldn't sleep. There was so much of inward energy as if it had started to flow. I couldn't sleep. But when in the morning I woke up, I was very fresh. I got delayed because of something else. So again, I was telling him that it is possible that I have seen something and again it will fade. But this time there is an alertness which has started to dawn. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm thankful that you have heard these few minutes from me. Sir, the point I'm continuing from where we left yesterday was, so are we saying that there is awareness which is there and we cannot experience it? It does not come in the realm of experience. What comes in the realm of experience is this expression of consciousness, which also comes like emotions, not physically but emotions. I will take the example of anxiety. So anxiety comes as an emotion. My very fact that I recognize it as anxiety is that that there is a separation from awareness, and therefore there is a creation of an I. In itself, therefore, anxiety will not have any disturbance if there is no separation. That awareness which exists is not individual. I create an I consciousness because I start to seek something for myself from the external situations. For example, I am employed. In that employment where I have been given an opportunity to serve, I feel that I am giving out my best, which is an action. The reaction of it will be in terms of money, it will come in terms of promotions, it comes of, in terms of appreciation. Is it that because I start to accumulate that appreciation, I start to attach myself to that experience of money, that I consciousness comes into being, and therefore that separation from awareness?
So whenever we have a thought, naturally the consciousness will be there. So where you apply your thought, you may apply your thought to the external things. Thereby we can discriminate the things around you. But at the same time, if you apply the thought towards the consciousness, then we divide the consciousness into two parts. I am separate and my experience is separate. Then actually we should not we should not focus our thought towards the consciousness. So in the psychological world, if you use your thought in the psychological world, thereby you psychologically into two worlds. I am somebody and my experience is something. Then only the experiencer want to control the experience. They want to catch hold of some good experience and remove some bad experience. Actually, each and experience comes and goes. The I consciousness comes only because of the thought. So the very nature of the thought itself is to divide everything into subject and object. So in this way, when we look at our experience, our emotion through our thought, through the eyes of the thought, we will have the two pictures. One is I am, the other one is the experience. So thereby naturally some problem will be within the I consciousness and the experience. Actually, even though it looks like dual things and duality, actually there is, we have to consider, we have to understand there is no duality. It is only the appearance. But actually basically there is no duality within ourselves. Consciousness is one. There is no dual consciousness. Each and every moment, a single consciousness alone is there. But only if you look at a consciousness through the thought, then we take a single consciousness into two things, the subject and object. Otherwise, there is no subject object in each and every consciousness. The consciousness is total, without any subject or object classification. But in the external world is concerned, we have to use our thought. Without thought, we cannot recognize anything, we cannot act. So in the external world, the using of thought is justified. But in the psychological world is concerned, the using of thought, the intervention of the thought is the problem.
My wife would have come, but she has not. Like I said, there was something which happened. So she read a few pages of this book, Smash Your Sorrows, which I had taken yesterday. I was, yeah, it's on. From here it is read.
Right is there.
Yeah, right is there. So she read, sir, your book, Smash Your Sorrows, few pages, and I was mentioning to her my experience, last night of having met you. And then I mentioned to her that she is actually a teacher. She teaches fine arts in Bishop College. So I mentioned to her that this enlightenment, liberation is not a state. But in your book, and she only marked it and she made me to read it, you speak about in the initial few pages that there is a state of clarity, which is in which there is no suffering and sorrow. What is that state, sir, which you are referring to? If liberation and enlightenment are not a state, you speak about a state of clarity, in which there is no suffering and sorrow.
So experience, we can stay in the name of state. If you have some experience, we can make it as a state. But if you can understand something, we can say name it as an understanding. It is not at all a state. It is an understanding. Understanding is not a state. The feeling, our experience, everything is a state.
And this understanding you are saying is to the intellect. Because we say that we should not give importance to I concept, I consciousness. So what is this we who does not give importance to I consciousness?
So this is, everything is intellect. With the help of the intellect alone, we come to a conclusion like this, and the intellect says like this.
Thank you.
Okay.
How about you?
Actually, I don't have any questions. The main thing is, first time, as sir said, I was just Googling, and one of my well-wishers said that I used to do a lot of meditation, all those things, and a lot of good experiences will come. You feel good. And the problem is always there will be inner conflict, right? To retain the state of, that emotional well-being. But outside we can't act correctly. We always want to retain that inner state, we always want to sit alone and skipping some of the responsibilities of the external. There was always a chaos externally. And one of my relatives said, we time that we'll stop everything and that time will be coming. Sometimes he said, later last month he said, the next moment I got an opportunity to go in the browse and got to know the book called Stop Meditation and Give Up Meditation. I was just going through it. It was totally different. It was entirely different the way had explained. So then immediately the next day he came to Bangalore and I went and visited him. He was roaming around the park. So I called him. He was standing under the tree and I met him. We both entered and I got all the books, whatever the books he had available. And within a week, I gone through all the books. Within a week, because I used to go through all the books. And next, sometimes also I used to call Ayya and talk about. Earlier, the external thing was not important, because everyone says that everything is Brahman, everything has to be there, the oneness, all those old concepts have been understood in a different way. The misinterpretation of each and every truth was the problem. That is where Ayya came in and clarity and the light. So next thing is, after reading all the things also, the calmness initially will settle. Everything will settle, and you will be doing extraordinary activities pretty well. But after some time, even you will catch hold of this calmness. And you want this calmness to be there. And again, I will go through the books. So, till my intellect satisfies, and I will go through the book. And there is one book called Shunya Rahasya. It's in Coimbatore book person has written. So that book has explained what are the ways that each and every person can undergo. The reasons might be different, but the flow might be the same. How we will identify all those things. So then that is where I got to know that every time you read the book, you want to again get satisfied. You want the final solution. This keeps on continuing. So this will be always there. You want a final state. You are already in the final state. Just put dot and keep it. And again, if you go back to last answer, just ignore and you can go back. That will disappear after some time. So this is where I got the clarity. And yesterday I got off coming because I got a class in MBA. I was focusing on MBA. So that's the reason I'm not able to come. Even I spread these things to my mother-in-law, and they are all very happy. They also inner thing, whatever comes, they just ignore. They take care of all things correctly. So I shared all the books to them, and they were all just following. Even my family, my wife, everyone. The inner conflicts was not there. Whatever comes, let it come. But outside we need to act correctly. So that lot of people, even I am saying physical health wise. Right, lot of things got cleared. Entire family was very happy. Everyone were flowing and expressing them very easily. There was not a lot of rigidity was not there. It was spreading around the family. This is the experience. So just like I came, brought my sister today today morning I came to know. That's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Anybody else? So we will proceed with some questions.
நம்ம பிரேக் எப்போ
இது 3 கேள்வி
முடிஞ்சோன்னா பிரேக் சரி முடிச்சுவிடுவோம். பிறகு இன்னைக்கு எத்தனை மணிக்கு முடிக்கணும்? நாம 1:00 முடிச்சு கொடுக்கணும். நாங்கள்
ஒரு 1:30 ஆச்சுனாலும் பரவாயில்ல சொல்லிடுவோம்.
அப்படியா? இல்லை வேறு ஏதோ ப்ரோக்ராம் இருக்குதாமே?
இருக்குன்ற.
சரி ரைட்.
Ayya, can you please define who am I in one or two statements or sentences?
So I already told you that only the thought alone creates the I consciousness. Otherwise, if there is no thought, there is no I am. So I am is thought alone. Without thought, no I am. So I am is thought with nothing but thought.
What is the difference between consciousness and thought?
So thought is a form of consciousness. Everything is consciousness. What we feel in the form of thought, emotion, everything is consciousness. The consciousness is a collective name, but the thought is an individual name. But totally it is known as consciousness, but individually it may be a thought. It may be some emotion, some fear, anger, sorrow. Everything is a kind of emotion, but collectively known as consciousness.
Respected Ayya, in any situation, is it necessary that psychological consciousness should always trigger the physical consciousness for any action to be carried out in the external world?
Physical consciousness means?
Psychological to outer world.
So psychological consciousness gives him inducement. So that is necessary. For example, you have a desire to get something. So desire is a psychological consciousness. With the help of the desire alone, you can act externally. So psychological consciousness helps. That is the meaning for that.
That is the meaning.
Okay.
That is the meaning for the punishment, or you want to have more clarification?
Even if desire is not there, nothing is there. At the psychological consciousness is zero. But that will help the
So if you know psychological consciousness, you have to sleep. You cannot act. Without psychological consciousness, no action is possible.
that's what I mean.
No action is not, no action.
Psychological consciousness, you require some desire or something, then only you can do
Yeah,
something
yeah.
external.
Naturally,
In
naturally.
psychological consciousness, there is no, it's a shallow state means there. So the external you can't perform.
Not perform. So each and every moment, psychological consciousness must be there. No, but only when we are in sleep, then all the rest of the time, you will some way or other you will have some consciousness. So you cannot imagine a consciousness state. So all the time you will have some consciousness, some way or other you will have some consciousness.
That will be the responsibility to trigger my.
So in what way you use the consciousness, in such a way you can act with the related to the external world. It may be triggered. It may be triggered to act like such a way. Okay.
Let us break for tea now and let us come back quickly. How much can be handled over customer? Okay? Kindly come back. Last session now.